The new political reality. Former Senator Alan Simpson is a very serious person. He must be. After all, President Obama appointed him as co-chairman of a special commission on deficit reduction. So here's what the very serious Mr. Simpson has said. I can't wait for the bloodbath in April. When debt limit time comes, they're going to look around and say, what in the hell do we do now? We've got guys who will not approve the debt limit extension unless we give them a piece of meat, real meat, meaning spending cuts. And, boy, the bloodbath will be extraordinary, he continued. Think of Mr. Simpson's bloodlust as one more piece of evidence that our nation is in much worse shape, much closer to a political breakdown than most people realize. Some explanation. There's a legal limit to federal debt, which must be raised periodically if the government keeps running deficits. The limit will be reached again this spring. And since nobody, not even the hawkest of deficit hawks, thinks the budget can be balanced immediately, the debt limit must be raised to avoid a government shutdown. But Republicans will probably try to blackmail the president into policy concessions by, in effect, holding the government hostage. And yes, they've done it before. So, you might think, with the prospect of this kind of standoff, which might deny many Americans essential services, wreak havoc in financial markets, and undermine America's role in the world, would worry all men of goodwill. And the fact is that one of our two great political parties has made it quite clear that it has no interest in making America governable, unless it's doing the governing. And that party now controls one house of Congress, which means that the country will not, in fact, be governable without that party's cooperation. Cooperation that won't be forthcoming, or so it seems to be. Elite opinion has been slow to recognize this reality. Thus, on the same day that Mr. Simpson rejoiced in the prospect of chaos and confusion, Ben Bernanke, the Federal Reserve Chairman, appealed for help in confronting mass unemployment. He has asked for a fiscal program that combines near-term measures to enhance growth with strong, confidence-inducing steps to reduce longer-term structural deficits. So, why not ask for a pony too? After all, the GOP isn't interested in helping the economy as long as a Democrat is in the White House, or so it seems. And indeed, far from being willing to help Mr. Bernanke's efforts, Republicans are trying to bully the Fed itself into giving up completely on trying to reduce unemployment. Or wasn't that supposed to be why they were elected? Because of high unemployment? So right now, in particular, Republicans are blocking an extension of unemployment benefits, an action that will both cause immense hardship and drain purchasing power from an already sputtering, weak economy. But there's no point appealing to the better angels of their nature. America just doesn't work that way anymore. And opposition, for the sake of opposition, isn't limited to economic policy. Politics, they used to tell us, stops at the water's edge. But that was then. These days, national security experts are tearing their hair out over the decision of Senate Republicans to block a desperately needed new strategic arms treaty. And everyone knows that these Republicans oppose the treaty, not because of any legitimate objections or concerns, but simply because it's an Obama administration initiative. If sabotaging the president endangers the nation, so be it. And that is one of the most craziest things I've ever heard. So, there must be something much bigger going on here. Because everything's connected. And like I say, there's also a spiritual side to everything. And then, how does this end? Mr. Obama is still talking about bipartisan outreach. And maybe Theoretically, if he caves in sufficiently, he can avoid a federal shutdown this spring. But any respite would be only temporary. Again, it seems to be that the GOP is just not interested in helping a Democrat govern. That, too, is crazy. My sense is that most Americans still don't understand this reality. They still imagine that when push comes to shove, our politicians will come together to do what's necessary. But then again, that was a whole nother country. It's hard to see how the situation gets resolved without a major crisis of some kind. Mr. Simpson may or may not get the bloodbath he craves this April, but there will be blood sooner or later. We can only hope that the nation that emerges from that bloodbath is still one we can even recognize. And yes, like I say, there's something much bigger going on here. Because everything that must change for the better. Rapidly or quickly. And these are more signs of the end times. Transition days, which is a continuing daily process happening all around the world. Revelation chapter 14, verse 6. And I saw another angel flying in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation, and tongue, and kindred, and people. 7. Saying with a loud voice, Fear God, and give glory to him, for the time or hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea, and the fountains of waters. 8. There followed another angel, saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. 9. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any human worships the beast in his image, and receives his mark in his forehead, or in his hand. 10. The same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. He shall be tormented with fire and brimstone, in the presence of the holy angels, and in the presence of the Lamb. 11. And the smoke of their torment ascends up forever and ever, and they have nor rest day nor night, who worships the beast in his image, and whosoever receives the mark of his name. 12. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God, and the faith of Jesus. 13. And I heard a voice from heaven, saying unto me, Write, Blessed are the dead, which die in the Lord from henceforth. Yes, saith the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, and their works do follow them. 14. And I looked, and behold a white cloud, and upon the cloud one sat like unto the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. 15. And another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice to him that sat on the cloud, Thrust in thy sickle and reap, for the time is come for thee to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe. 16. He that sat on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. 17. And another angel came out of the temple, which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle. 18. And another angel came out from the altar, which had power over fire, and cried with a loud cry to him that had the sharp sickle, saying, Thrust in thy sharp sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe. 19. And the angel thrust in his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of God. And yes, it's time for all prophecy to be fulfilled.